hello. Sneaky, sneaky. Hello, and welcome to the round of 16. Woo! Let's get these introductions out of the way real quickly, because we have some shenanigans, as always, it seems. Up in the top left-hand corner, it is our red Terran.
Paragons of Perfection, MaNiacJace. And his opponent in the bottom right, who's currently instigating the shenanigans, it is our yellow Terran. Team Ascension, Armadawn. And I believe this is what they call an 888 in the business.
Yeah, so called because you build a building on 8, another building on 8, and then another building on 8. Yep,
those buildings, of course, being a supply depot, a refinery, and a barracks. And he's going to go ahead and just warp in these Reapers really quick here. I guess they're not warped, but they're on jetpacks, so they're doing some warping of their own.
Jetting around, yeah, and Ohana's a pretty good map for this, because actually I've never really looked at the Dreampool maps for 888s, but a lot of them are really good for Reapers. So, yeah, 888 I think is strongest in TVT as well, so I don't think MaNiacJace is very prepared for this at all, and he's going to see that Reaper, and that is not the time you want to have a Reaper in your base.
Okay, so what he's doing is he's doing the right thing. Is he's trying to bring his Marine back, because if you lose that first Reaper Marine in this, you pretty much have lost. So see what he's doing? He's dedicating so much to not losing that Reaper, and he's gonna get he's gonna actually get the Reaper, so the Marine survives, and that is huge, because if you lose that initial Marine, that's of course twice the firepower you have when your next Marine comes out. So really big on MaNiacJace, able to kill at least one Reaper for now.
Yeah, because the strength of the Reapers in the early game is the fact that you can go back and heal them. Like, that Marine isn't going to get his health back, and he is going to get killed by that Reaper from Armadawn now. And that Reaper is going to go back, or it's going to have a chance to heal itself up. He's probably going to bring it in, but try and keep it at the back. And it's already healing back up. So, wow, actually, he's producing a tap cloud rather than any units. Oh, he has got the Hellion out. Okay,
I really like this decision, actually, because he's going to get out a Marauder and probably research concussive shells, and that's how you shut down Reapers, like, early game. Some people don't put out the concussive shells. He's actually producing another Marine. So, I don't know. I would like to see him produce a Marauder, because the sooner you get the Marauder out, the better it is. But, of course, he's the one defending. 3 Reapers now are coming in, and they're going to start working away. He's got the SCVs there to repair the Hellions. So now he's got 2 Hellions out, and Armadawn is looking a little rough for around the edges right now. MaNiacJace is probably going to be able to settle this down.
Yeah, the Hellions are really, really good against the Reapers, because one of the big advantages Reapers has is their mobility, and Hellions just completely counter that. Extra damage to light units, big splash, means you can line them up. Hellions against Reapers is one of the hardest counters in the game. Armadawn can't really do that much with this now, because if he gets too out of position with his Reapers, the Hellions will just chew him up. Of course, also, Reapers clump up when they go up and down cliffs, so you can really take those Reapers by surprise with Hellions. Yeah, and he's going to go ahead and Armadawn's throwing out a factory back home, and of course, if you look at the supplies, MaNiacJace is essentially doubling him. He's got a Banshee of his own on the way, and Armadawn hasn't even landed these barracks yet. So no Marines, of course, on the way. There is a engineering bay down, so he is going to at least have turrets up by the time the Banshee gets there. But where are those turrets going to be? And you know what? There's always little gaps Banshees can find, and good players find those gaps. And we are in Diamond, ladies and gentlemen, and they'll find gaps. They'll find somewhere. I think one of our Terrans. Ooh, wow! Nice micro on those Reapers, man. Just to not lose any and take out a Hellion. But yeah, we saw some devastating Banshees a couple of groups ago in a TVT, getting up to like 30 kills or so, and we could see that again. But here comes the Banshee out, and as you say, Armadawn really has very little defense against this. His engineering base done, but he hasn't started any turrets. I'd kind of like to see a Widowmine at the factory, but I guess he doesn't really know what's happening. But now he sees the Banshee, now he knows what's on the way. I'd expect to see him start some turrets pretty shortly here.
He's already started a command center, but yeah, there you go. There's the missile turret started as MaNiacJace's Banshee makes its way across. The problem with the 888 is it's such an all-in play. You're essentially hoping your opponent like kind of shits themselves when they're trying to defend and doesn't pull SCVs. Armadawn really was baiting on that. He was hoping that would happen, and MaNiacJace did the right thing by pulling as many SCVs as he did. You want to defend with what you have, because if you defend it, this is generally what happens. You get yourself in a pretty good position like this. And now, if you look at it, there is a Widowmine on the way, as you'd expect. But really, what else is Armadawn going to do? His income is going to be nothing, and he might lose the Widowmine, very close to losing the Widowmine. But a Viking on the way, so I mean, he is going to defend against the Banshee for the most part. And these Reapers are actually going to be able to trade decently against the Hellions until the Marines show up.
Yeah, and nice bit of pullback micro on both sides there. MaNiacJace should be able to pick off most of those Reapers. There's one surviving, it's going to heal up a bit. But for now, Armadawn is really, really hard-pressed to defend against this little push from his opponent. He's got very little in the way of army. There's a couple Widowmines, but I mean, they're gonna kill a few units, and I don't see that there's much he can do. He's landing his Viking, which I think is the right decision. If he can get a lot of SCVs around that to repair it, he might be able to hold this.
Yeah, so 6 Marines, 2 Hellions, and a cloaked Banshee. I mean, Marines on the way, but when you start making Marines at this point in the game, and well, he just lost all his Marines from MaNiacJace, and now there's just a Hellion and a Banshee. So as good a defense as he can manage, of course, that wouldn't mind putting out a lot of the DPS there and really making the difference. So Armadawn doing what he can for the most part, but in the end, MaNiacJace is, you know, his advantage here is so massive, it's going to be hard to see how Armadawn comes back into the play, as the Viking is going to go ahead and lift up, and then the Banshees are just going to cloak. So what are you going to do, son?
Yeah, not enough energy for a scan. Not going to be any for a while either. And Widowmine's getting a little bit of hits off, but... Oh, here we go. They strayed a little bit too close to the missile turret, but so long as they just stay out of the sight radius of that, they'll be fine.
Yeah, and you'll be able to make these Banshees work for a really long time, especially since Armadawn really doesn't have the freedom to move out as you would like to, and he doesn't have the Marine numbers to really push out, and he doesn't know what MaNiacJace has outside of this, so this is all based on Armadawn still. If you think about it, he's just focused on his little world right now. If we could, you know, take away, if you look at his first-person view, it's just essentially, he's got his little world. He has no units across the map, you know, he's not really focused on anything. And back home, MaNiacJace could be doing essentially whatever he wants. You know, there could be siege tanks out here. Armadawn has no idea, so he can't really do anything about this right now. He has to take it, you know, his time. And as we see back in MaNiacJace's base, he's got a massive amount of SCVs. He's going to transform over, and he's going to be really fine. He's got Stim on the way, siege tanks, reactor barracks. And Armadawn has pretty much none of that in at least the like how much, you know, MaNiacJace has got going for him.
Yeah, absolutely. MaNiacJace started off enormously defending that 88 really well. A fast factory is pretty much the perfect thing you want against that. And then he managed to take out the first Reaper as well. Either one of those would have led to a decent hold, but both combined meant I don't think he even lost a single SCV. Like he lost 1 or 2 Marines and that was it. Now Armadawn's going to try and move out and skew his natural. There's a lot of Banshees, and they do have energy for Cloak, but I believe there's a scan available. Yeah, there we go. It's going to go down, and he should be able to drive away these Banshees, but they can just sort of sit outside the scan radius and be annoying. Yeah,
so one thing a lot of people don't take into effect is when you throw down a scan, especially if you're ahead and you have Banshees, forcing your opponent to throw down a scan is actually really, really good, even if you lose the Banshees, because what you're doing is you're taking away essentially what is 400 minerals and mule mining away from that opponent. So Armadawn is behind in mining and everything like that. MaNiacJace knows it. So even if you lose your Banshees at this point, they've pretty much already done their economic damage by taking away the workers, forcing him to make turrets, and the Vikings. And then also, if you force scans, that pays for itself. Like 400 minerals at this point in the game for Armadawn is massive.
Yeah, of course they don't give you those minerals, but Armadawn's not going to see those minerals until he starts mining out his bases, which isn't going to happen for a long time, particularly on his SCV count. Oh, all the Banshees do get taken out now, so Armadawn can relax a little bit easier, but only for a couple of seconds, as we see a big triple drop boost into the main. There's 1 missile turret, and it's not really in range. MaNiacJace is going to get a fantastic defensive position with 3 tanks. He's going to completely deny mining at this main for Armadawn for a while. He's going to get Stim as well, actually.
Yeah, Stim just finished up in time. It's really looking like the upgrades have matched this drop really well. He's, of course, got a massive amount of Marines, and you're going to have to pull SCVs against us. 3 siege tanks putting out a lot of DPS. The Medevac's doing their fair share of healing, and there's really nothing left for Armadawn to defend, and that's GG.
That is, I would say, GG. MaNiacJace takes pretty easy 1-0 lead, and...
All right, welcome back. This is, of course, the second match of our first series tonight. Terran versus Terran, of course, we got going down for you, and we'll get right into these player introductions on Daybreak. So, spawning in the bottom left corner, currently 1-0, looking to get that second win to get him into the winner's match good and early. It is your red Terran player.
Paragons of Perfection, MaNiacJace.
And he will be fighting against, for your viewing enjoyment today, our blue Terran up in the top right-hand corner.
Team Ascension, Armadawn.
All right, so we'll see if Armadawn is who I think he is. Of course, we had to cast 32 players in 8 groups and several long, arduous nights of casting. So he might be one of the other Terrans we've got. We've got a lot of Terrans in this tournament, but I'm pretty sure that he likes going early CC into 3 racks, which is typically what you see versus Protoss, of course. But he made it work one game. He lost it, but he made it at least get into the mid game, which is the key here. It's funny these days that we used to consider going early CC to be the safer option because it gave you the strength to go mid game, and now we consider taking your gas early the safer option because it lets you at least survive those early couple of minutes. If you don't have those tech heavy units like we were talking about, you pretty much die to like a drop or Banshee play or what have you.
Yeah, I think TVT is probably the mirror matchup with the most different options that aren't like, what aggressive push am I going to do in the first 3 minutes of the game or something.
Yeah.
It's really exciting in that sort of overarching strategic sense. It's a lot more slower paced than the other mirrors, but I think that adds a lot more opportunity for strategy versus tactics, which is really cool. Let's see, MaNiacJace not getting the scout off there. Armadawn's position as Marines all the way down there. So does MaNiacJace have any idea about the expansion? I don't think he does. No, he can't see it. He hasn't got any information about what his opponent doing, but this Banshee is going to be his first scout.
Yeah, so he's throwing on the Banshee, and this is against Armadawn's, like I said, he went 3 racks CC, and we saw him do this on Overgrowth, where he puts these supply depots all around the map, almost like scouting pylons. A scan does go down for MaNiacJace and see everything he needs to see, so he's probably pretty happy right now because he knows there's not going to be a scan out by the time the Banshee and Cloak gets there. Actually, his second CC orbital will probably be ready. But like I was talking about earlier, if you look at the supply depots, Armadawn's going to build them all over the map, and they're almost like Protoss. They're like
proxy
vision pylons. Yeah, exactly. But he just uses them. He uses them for vision, and they actually work somewhat well. And it's just one of those quirky, weird things you wouldn't ever see or consider. And it's something cool that you always learn something about StarCraft every day. I mean, I'm not going to incorporate it into my game. And the scan does go down for MaNiacJace and see the Banshee, but it's still pretty interesting. Yeah,
it's really cool. It's a lot like Overlords, really, except you can't really move them around. I know for a while, Leth, one of the casters of Prime League, used pylons in that sort of fashion a lot. And MaNiacJace is going to see this supply. He is going to see it. He's going to kill that off. And of course, Armadawn gets advanced warning with the Banshee. So I'm not going to say it's paid for itself, but it's certainly done what's it intended to do so far. And now the missile turret's finished, and Cloak's finished as well. But there's a missile turret there, so the Banshee can't really do that much. You can try and find the angle, but I don't know. Poking at the front as well, and Armadawn's going to crush this. Really, really nice stuff stepping forwards, because, of course, MaNiacJace is trying to split his attention between the main and the natural. But because Armadawn is focusing mainly on the natural, I think that the Banshee in the main has got a decent number of kills, up to 7 kills now, so that's definitely been worth it. And there's another one coming in as well.
Yeah, so Armadawn is using, what is the advantage of the 3 racks is you get a lot of bio out, but if there's no scans going down, like what are the turrets doing? Like this is what we talked about, it not being safe. Like sure, he has a lot of units, but what's the tech to get this Banshee? Turrets are stagnant. You can't move them like Ravens. So this Banshee with 5 kills, he's getting rid of that early bio, and the other one is just sitting there, and there's nothing to contest it. Those Marines can move into range of the Banshee in the main and shoot it because it doesn't have because the turret is in range of detecting it. But like Armadawn just has not controlled these units well enough to be like useful. They're just dying.
Yes, dying in their droves. One of these Banshees is on 12 kills, 13 kills, and it is finally going to go down. But the other one is on 11 kills, almost all the SCVs, and still just denying mining from this base. Armadawn, Yeah, more
Banshees are coming.
Banshees on the way. Here's another one to replace that one that gave you so much difficulty in the natural. You're not getting that bunker up, and now Hellions are moving into the mineral line, and Armadawn's in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, he is going to take out this one Banshee. Ooh, he does get it. So, you know, let's talk about the benefits that Armadawn does have. The longer it goes on and the more he kind of controls himself, the better it'll be. But he has to at least eliminate that Banshee that is just still staying there. And, you know, how many kills? 11 kills? It's not big in the kills. I mean, 11 kills is 11 kills, but it's denying the whole left side of mining from the main. And as long as it's there, it's going to continue just being, you know, a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah, it's been doing that for like almost, well, since it's arrived basically, and it does finally get taken out, and Armadawn can start mining in his main again. But
there we go.
That was a long time.
I'm going to chalk this up. I'm going to
to
chalk this up to Armadawn being a little nervous. I think he does now have a supply lead, but I think he was miscontrolling his Marines. He was focusing on some other stuff. And he, you know, I don't know how long the supply lead is going to be in his favor. And if you think about it, by not going the early tech and going unit heavy, like bio heavy, you might be able to hold this. But if you don't, then the tech tree is going to be in favor of MaNiacJace, because now he has tanks on the way, medevacs on the way. Stim is you know, behind, but it's gonna finish in time for anything he wants to get done. So MaNiacJace both taking the favor of the econ kills and the tech tree as of right now.
Yeah, I think Armadawn's probably mined a little bit more, though, because MaNiacJace's natural and natural orbit command only just finished up, whereas Armadawn's had the benefit of those mules for a little bit longer. So that's pretty handy. He's also Armadawn is also going to have an upgrade lead, which is extra important in mirror matchups, because Marines with upgrades are always good, and then when you're fighting other Marines that do the same thing, except they're doing it a little bit worse because they're not upgraded, they just crush.
Yeah, for sure, and like that's one thing you got to realize. If you're both going bio, you know, like if you're behind in your upgrades, sure you can catch up, but it's only a matter of time. If you're ever, you know, like 30 to 45 seconds, that's huge, and you need to smell that. You need to, you know, if you didn't know, you can click on the enemy units and see what upgrades they have while you're in game. So throw it on a scan. You can even click on the SCV worker, and this is a good tell for those of you who maybe have been held back the whole game. You can scan, click on the worker, and if there aren't upgrades at a certain amount of time, you can say, okay, maybe I'm either ahead in upgrades, or maybe he's going mech, because the mech upgrades wouldn't apply to SCVs.
Workers don't get attack upgrades though.
No, they would get the armor. So you wouldn't. Yeah, of course you wouldn't see that, but it is a tell, because generally, like, why would you? You know, some players do it where they'll only get one or the other, or they'll get one earlier than the other. But, you know, there's no reason to not go double upgrades these days.
Yeah, quite often players will get 1-1 off of one engineering bay and then throw down the second one for 2-2 onwards. By the way, both players finished or starting their third command centers, or orb commands, as I imagine they will become. They'll be flying out, take them when they feel safe. MaNiacJace, how many what's the tank count? Yeah, MaNiacJace, and this is the consequence of that early teching, has 4 tanks, and Armadawn is just starting tank production now. So that's going to be a lead Armadawn has to catch up on somehow. And I don't know, how do you think he's going to manage it? My guess is with the overwhelmingly higher Marine count.
Yeah, well, this drop might do something, but there's a lot of turrets here, and they're going to be able to take down one medevac. Now there's 3 tanks with not many Marines to defend it, so it is denying mining, and all the army of Armadawn is getting brought back. So this seems to be the answer, at least you know, from MaNiacJace. He's going to lose all of these. He needs to. I mean, he can sit here as long as he wants, but as soon as these Marines get up some confidence and they go in there, he's going to split them. He needs to pre-split them and just stim in, and all these tanks are going to die fairly quickly. So there's your tank advantage, which is now down to 2-1.
Yeah, the question is, was it worth it for MaNiacJace? And I'm honestly not sure. He killed a building barracks, I think it was, and
a bunch of turrets.
SCVs.
Yeah,
a bunch of turrets. The turrets were kind of nice, but at the end of the day, I don't think Armadawn lost anything that particularly crucial. He didn't, because MaNiacJace, if it dropped with like 2 tanks and an extra 4 Marines, or maybe just I think 2 tanks would have been a good number there, because obviously tanks need that, ironically, tanking for them to stop you just getting on top of them with Marines and killing them. So I don't know, it's interesting, but you know, MaNiacJace being aggressive, taking the drops, taking the fight to Armadawn, I quite like it, and I really like how he's spreading out all these single Marines, just feeling out what his opponent's doing. Is there a third coming around? Because I'm taking my third, and I want to know what my opponent's doing. And ooh, what do you think about Armadawn's third positioning in a very forward sort of position?
Yeah, I actually kind of like that because now you're making the play like forward, so your unit rally is actually much more congruent with your natural. And I've done this versus Zerg more so when I'm hitting my pushes and like I'm confident. But I don't know if I agree with it in TVT, especially if you're behind. And I don't know if Armadawn thinks he's ahead or something like that, or if he just feels particularly confident. But he has to know that he didn't take the best engagements in the first part of this game. And so, he's going to get a look at the army now and know that it's decently similar. He does know the third is here with these 2 Marines. So now he should know that he's behind. So this third seems a little risky to me, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it makes sense coming from a perspective of, these Marines are getting a lot of kills.
Yeah.
Unwarranted. But to go back to that, just to wrap it up real quick, it makes sense from a perspective if you're pressuring and you feel confident. If not, it doesn't. So I don't know if I agree with it, but we'll see how Armadawn plays it out, because he's tried a lot of, not necessarily traditional things that have worked out pretty well anyway.
Needs to siege his tanks, though, because MaNiacJace is on the warpath. And
this is a big engagement coming out stem for both armies. So Marines from MaNiacJace are getting a decent concave, but the siege from Armadawn was a little later than MaNiacJace's, and that's why you're seeing the dividends pay off for MaNiacJace, and he's taking a huge supply lead, and the army of Armadawn is almost evaporated. It's gone.
Yeah, Armadawn lost all his tanks, and then MaNiacJace just had a couple of Marines left over, and all those tanks pushing out the splash damage. Armadawn pulled his SCVs as well, so he's lost a lot of them in that battle. And I think this Orbital Commander's just knows it's not going to get away. So close, though.
And that's when he put his, the more forward command center, he took it. That's the issue we were talking about, is it's going to be right on the front lines. And typically you want to keep your economy away from that unless you're like in such a good position that you're pressing the advantage, and he simply wasn't there.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive position to take, because you want to be like being defensive at your third, and then being defensive further and further and further forwards until you push towards your enemy's third. But big Doom Drop is going to be denied by these turrets. Ooh, was that a full medevac? Did that have tanks in it?
Did he get
no, it didn't have any tanks in it.
I don't think so.
He got a medevac. I saw something explode. But
okay.
I don't think it had any units in it. Either way, yeah, MaNiacJace has actually got 2 forces here, and I don't think he's going to be able to break this natural, but he can certainly try and run around to the third location. Actually, no, I think Armadawn's got tons of tanks now. He'll be okay. And both players getting out vehicle upgrades as well, which is really nice to see, because those tanks just do so much more damage. How much damage do siege tanks get per upgrade? Like 3 versus light and 2 versus armored?
Yeah, I think so. They're at when they start off, they are in what is the damage from a siege tank?
They're like 40, 50?
Yeah. 35 and then 50.
35, 50 versus armored.
Yeah. And so the upgrade, if we check our little guy here, gives it we'll see when it upgrades. I actually should know that probably, and I don't. That's hilarious.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. MaNiacJace. Yeah, he scans and sees there's a ton of tanks up there. Armadawn has a lot of tanks. Is he producing off 2 factories? No. Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. So
to be fair, from Armadawn, he's got a lot of siege tanks, but you're asking how is he going to break this natural? Well, exactly what you're seeing here. He found the little gap, and this demonstrates a good player. MaNiacJace knows that he's got an advantage somewhere. He's going to find it, and there's a lot of SCVs that are just gone now. Where do they go defending? He rushed in on siege tanks. He should, Armadawn down to 65 supply, and that seems to be he's not in a position to come back from this. He's going to have to make a push work. He is pushing with the little hit squad of Marines here at the third, but in the meantime, his natural's gone. He just has tanks, and you can split against tanks with bio, just like you can against banelings or anything else. So if if MaNiacJace gets up ahead of steam and he wants to, there's the tanks aren't going to survive for much longer anyway.
Yeah, it does eventually get cleaned up, but almost. There's one siege tank left there, and if that kills the Orbital Command, I'll be very unhappy for Armadawn on his behalf. The hit squad in the third has done quite a bit of damage, forced a big workable and killed quite a few of them well, but it's just not enough. MaNiacJace is still on 52 STD, still has that third, and Armadawn has had to lift his natural. He's barely mining in his main, and he's only on 19 STDs. I don't know where those are. There's a few in the main, but where are the rest of them?
Just kind of spread out. I guess they're at their natural as well.
Yeah, there's a few in the natural.
I mean, he might have brought some to heal his siege tanks if we look at his army. No, it doesn't look like he's got anything with that. So now, I mean, like Marine tank versus Marine tank with medevacs and upgrade and econ advantage. Like Armadawn is fighting from the absolute worst possible, position as a mirror matchup. It's same units but less. Same econs but less. Same everything but less. He doesn't have where does he get back into this game? And I guess by playing the long game, but he's putting his forces not near his. He's trying to take a third again. So I guess that might work out for him. It's gonna be really hard to do anything from this point onward. 181 supply to 71 supply speaks about the game itself. This is essentially over. I don't know, though, if Armadawn knows how behind he really is. And another huge load up. This is like how many medevacs is this? So 9
That's
medevacs.
all the medevacs, 9 medevacs, yeah.
Yeah, full of Marines and tanks, and God knows, how much firepower they're going to put out as soon as they go to this main. And, I think he's just going to boost right past these turrets. He's not going to give a fuck because he has too much. YOLO, 420 swag it, no scope. I'm jumping into your base. I don't give a shit. Here it comes. Stimmed Marines, all that good stuff. He hasn't stimmed them yet. He's going to, the production's gone. There's the GG call from Armadawn. So game 2 going steadily in favor to MaNiacJace, and he's going to go on to the winners bracket.